What you see here in this particular exhibition is a selection of the works on two media mainly. It's what I call unraveled embroideries and incense sculptures. These two things are part of my quest on the environment and the environmental crisis, which is something I've been working on for quite a lot of time, I would say, from 2003 on, which is when I somehow moved my interest from the sacred itself as a concept and as, you know, spirituality and differences in spiritualities, to the idea that something should be sacred on a planetary level and not on a cultural level, meaning it didn't really make sense for me to think you go to hell if you're not born on the right kind of position on the planet because you didn't meet the right God, and this kind of closed visions. So I was looking for something more transversal, more planetary, as I said. And India always comes in help with this, because it was very much in the inner fabric of the Indian culture. And I was living in India for a while. To represent in general something sacred and vegetal or animal at the same time. So I was not, the religiosity, the spirituality was not very much about the brand you choose, but was more on the concept of life and portraying life in something living and something that has this miracle of life in itself. So metaphors of using flowers, metaphors using sacred animals, sacred mountains. This is what interested me more than anything else. So somehow I moved from the borders between cultures and spiritualities to looking for things that unite. And this natural and, as I said, flowers, animals, sacred, natural things looked like the best thing I could use to convey the idea that it's the miracle of life itself, which is sacred. It's the miracle of life itself that is worth to be worshipped. And at the same time, that is very linked, very much deeply linked to the universe and to any sort of spirituality. So it is in the ecological life we have to look for the sacredness. After realizing this, the first thing I noticed is the ecological balance was in danger, was frail, was, you know, the ecological environmental crisis was going on, and everything was not going to be the same very soon. So I decided to use the metaphor of something that is broken, something that is damaged, something that's been attacked, like an embroidery that has been cut with a razor. So it's something that has its own harmony and has its own grace to it, but at the same time it's in between two dimensions. It's here for a moment but can be gone very soon, which is what I think about mankind at the moment. And the same, even more so, is true for the incense burnable skulls that I created. And I guess I was very lucky to stumble in this media, because I was looking for something that not only would convey the meaning that I had in mind of this fragility and transiency of mankind, but also I didn't want a media that would contradict in its physical facts. I wasn't willing anymore to use bronze or any other material that has an impact on the environment while speaking of something. And I came across incense, which is basically made of the same concept and of the same substance of the concept that I wanted to talk about. So incense is both, is sacred and it's transient at the same time. And in this case it's even organic. So I put together, with the help of a great person I encountered in India, I put together a mixture of incense with the same recipe. It used to be done 5,000, 4,000 years ago in India, which is fully vegetal and so has virtually no impact on the environment, and has this incredible feature of being here and now, but can be gone very soon. The skulls take 8 hours to burn, roughly, and but they also have 24 carats golden teeth, which is another metaphor for consumption and possession, and shows that all the objects that we gather over the course of our lives are actually not ours and often remain there after we're gone. And the same is true for the consequences of these objects. So the emphasis is on the way we make things, the way we produce things, because production is actually one of the main causes of the environmental situation. Over the course of the last 10 years, I've been traveling a lot in Southeast Asia and Vietnam in particular, and India as well. And that's where I produced the major part of my embroideries. And while doing this, I stumbled upon the Vietnam War as a theme, because it's so present. And one of the things I was very fascinated with is the memorabilia, the military vintage clothing, and I was looking for a way to rewrite the significance of these pieces, which are already significant themselves. I mean, they're quite iconic pieces. We're talking about the M65 field jacket that was, used in Vietnam for the American War, as they call it in Asia, and the M55, more rare, 51, more rarely. And I wanted to somehow quote the theory of the memory of water, which is somehow an homeopathic way to change the vibration of something. And so I embroidered sacred themes, sacred forms, again flowers and sacred trees, clouds and things that have to do with the environment on this original 40 years old war pieces, in order to counterbalance their war content, in order to make them and use them as a manifesto, as a monitor against war, because there's a very tight connection between war and environmental impact. During that war, over the course of the 10 years, it has been an incredible amount of toxic material has been dumped on Vietnam. That's the link. War is not only against humanity, but it's also against the environment. And if you look, if you take a look very closely, there is no difference between these two concepts. I guess this idea of linking places and linking culture, one of the the things I noticed immediately when I started to travel was that the border between cultures didn't really exist like it was depicted in books or I heard of. I mean, the first Indian that I met told me she was a Muslim, but she believed in reincarnation, and I was immediately projected into a different dimension because she wouldn't fit in any of the category I had in my mind. And that's been the case going on all the time. I mean, discovering things that are not quite similar to what I had in mind, to what I heard or what I studied. It was always different, and the border was always very, very, very soft in the end. I'm not about the brands of spirituality, I'm about spirituality itself and what it really means. So that was the moment, that's why I changed and played with religious icons. And I know this might be somehow offensive to someone, and I did have my share of explanation time, especially in India, but it's also very clear, even for Indians, that Indians have supposedly 333 million different incarnations of gods, but they would always reply to the question, how many gods are there? They would always reply, God is one. And within this very answer, there is what I mean, which is spirituality is one, the miracle of life is one, and that's the prime energy of the universe. We are an expression of. We're not the guardian of nature, we're not the antagonist of nature, and at the same time we're not at the center of it. We are one little drop of one river together with all the rest that is. So this concept really stayed with me and never abandoned me ever after. I guess the whole concept of the exhibition, as somebody said very well, is it's a call to consciousness, to an awakening. That's why it's called Wake Up. It's a call. It's a call to take consciousness about our position in the environmental crisis, and to get back in touch with that sacred space within ourselves, that inner voice that tells us what is right and what is wrong when it comes to environment. And it's not only something that is scaring or fear arousing, it's also something that wants to be a monitor while we're still on time to steer our situation. And I believe there is a message of possibility and fertility as well in this work. And because that's what incense, gold and myrrh, the ingredients of the sculptures, are meant to be. They are meant to be, even in pre-Christian times, they are meant to represent rebirth. So that's what the exhibition is about. It's about the environment, it's about taking consciousness and getting in touch with that energy, with that information, with that capability of doing the right thing to be decent terrestrial.